G'day everyone, Dan here. Welcome to North Queensland Barbecue and Brewing. Today I'm doing these things here, which are lamb breast ribs. I picked them up for $11 or $12 from Lambert's here in Townsville. And I'm going to cook them on charcoal, but I'm going to cook them in my new favourite cooking device, this Braii here, that my wife picked up for me. So, pretty simple prep really. I'm just going to lay them into here, however they can fit. I'm going to season them on both sides. I'm going to do an SPG, basically rub on one side, and then I'm going to do a garlic on the other side. This is the Lane's garlic rub here. I think I've used it in another video. Pretty simple really, just keep the flavours simple. I'll pack these things in and let the seasoning just penetrate the meat. I'm going to cook them on the side of the fire, so they won't be cooking directly above. They'll be indirect, but the charcoal will be off to the side. I'll show you that in a minute. But basically, yeah, layer one side here with a bit of this SPG, and this is, I've used this one before. It's a fairly potent SPG. It's designed for pretty thick cuts of meat, but lamb is one of those sort of meats. It's strong, so I'm not going to layer too much of that on. It's the Carnival Candy Store Butcher's SPG. I really like the stuff. Once again, another local Townsville company, so try to stay local if you can. Lane's obviously Yankee stuff, but you know what? It's excellent. So, and I really love, like, lamb and garlic go together. You could add some rosemary to this if you wished. I'm going to leave it like that and just let that now marinate into the meat as the charcoal's getting ready. I've got one full chimney of charcoal. That's it, all I'm using for this. And once that's ready to go, I'll go into the cooking process of how I'm doing this. So I've set this charcoal bed up and it's sitting to one side, and I've got the one side here free. So I'll show you now how I'm going to cook these ribs. So I'm just going to place this basically on there like that. It's got the feet here, so it'll sit in there like that, and just let that residual heat come up and start to cook this meat. You'll get a lot of that charcoal flavour start to waft through the meat as well. We've done this with steak, previous video similar, and I've done it a few times with different meats. Now, unfortunately at the moment I don't have my barbecue shed. We just bought a house, so I've got to build another barbecue shed or put it back up because I dismantled it, and it's going to go in the backyard. So unfortunately for the next few videos when I've got time, they're going to be out here in the open. But anyway, we'll cook these now. I'll rotate them around so I can rotate it that way and around, and we'll give this probably an hour and a half. I want to break down some of the collagens and the different stuff in that meat there to break it down to be nice and tender. It is a part of the rib. But with lamb, if you've never had lamb ribs before, they're not like pork or beef. They don't need hours to break down. They're more fatty than they have that sinew in them, so they tend to break down really easily and get tender really quick. So I'm going to give these about an hour all up of cooking slowly next to here, and then what I'll do is I might even crispy them up a little bit on the outside, but hopefully we get some fat crispiness during the cooking process. And yeah, we'll see how this goes. I haven't done this before with these, or these particular cut of lamb ribs. So yeah, I'll come back and we'll see how they're looking in about an hour's time. And there's a bit of a view from my new backyard there. Right, looking at Castle Hill here in Townsville. It's a lovely hill. Alright, so these have been on about an hour now, and they're looking pretty good. I've been probing them and they feel nice as well, so that gives you a bit of an idea of the colour on them. What I want to do, I want to render a little bit more of that fat out, because I want to get really crispy fat to this. So if I render it out a little bit more, a lot of the fat's dripping off the bottom, and there's a nice line of the fat where it's dripped off there. If I can render just a touch more of that fat out and break it down, the meat's going to be fine. There's plenty of fat in there, so it's not going to lose moisture. It's not going to get tough. Cooking it where I cook. Lamb's a pretty forgiving meat. If you've ever cooked a lot of lamb, you'll know that. You can cook this stuff like dead, you know, pretty much well done, and it's still tender enough. That's the benefit to lamb. So I'm going to leave this probably another half an hour just to render a touch more of that fat out. So then I've set my little stand up here that I built, and I'll put it above here and rotate it to crispy that fat up. And the crispying process should be a little bit quicker once I've rendered that fat out as well. It'll just give it that nice crunch to the fat rather than eating solid, you know, the goopy, yucky fat. But I'm rendering it out. A lot of the oil's coming out, so it should actually work how I plan on it working. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with the colour on these now. They're coming along pretty well. They're starting to, a lot of the fat's dripped out. Give you a good look at them there. Both sides. So now I'm going to move it over to here. Give it another probably 5 minutes aside. Basically crispy up that fat. Drip a lot of the rest of the fat out, the oil out of the fat anyway. Hopefully we'll end up with nice rendered crispy fat on these ribs. They're smelling really nice, so yeah, hopefully they taste good. Alright, so I'm pretty happy with how these have turned out. You're either going to like lamb or you're not, so if you don't like lamb you're weird, but that's how they've turned out. Nice and crispy on the outside, and there's plenty of fat still dripping out of those. They're nice and soft to touch as well, so yeah, I'm going to let these rest for about 5 to 10 minutes and we'll come back and we'll hook in and see what they taste like. Alright, so we're ready to give this a go, and that's the rest of the upstairs on the plate already, but yeah, the fat and that's all the fat there. It's nice and crispy. I could eat the whole lot. So it's actually rendered nicely. It's not oily, it's not chewy. The main part, I suppose, is the meat part, because I wanted to get that fat like that, so I have to see what the meat's like. I love lamb. When I probed it, it felt really tender. You got that garlic taste, you got the salt and pepper from the SPG, which complement it really well. The meat's actually, like, lamb pulls at 98 degrees when you're doing a shoulder, so that meat's tender and really nice. I'll be doing that again. So yeah, that was a bit of an experiment with lamb ribs and the braai, just to see how they go. It was about an hour and a half, 90 minutes or so, just flipping it around, having a couple of beers, chilling out, and then yeah, about 10 minutes once again flipping it up and down on my little, I'm taking it away now on my little stand, just to give it that standoff, and it's crispied it up absolutely beautifully. So yeah, give that a go. I don't think you'll be disappointed, especially if you can buy one of those Braais. They're about $10 I think from Kmart, Big W. Anyway, yeah, until next time guys, take care.